Good afternoon, Moscow time, everyone, and good evening to our participants from Southeast Asia and other countries in the Eastern Hemisphere. So today we are to continue the series of our ASEAN Academic Days hosted by ASEAN Centre in MGIMO, and we are happy to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Natalia Stapran, from the Russian Ministry of Economic Development. Let me briefly tell you about our house rules and general framework of our today's talk. So we aim to have a 30 or 40 minutes presentation by the speaker, which will be followed by a Q&A session. We are happy to announce that we have already collected a number of very interesting questions, which you submitted via the registration form during the registration to this event. And the speaker will try to address these questions during her talk. But if you feel that you want to clarify something, or if the talk will spark new interest and new ideas, please feel free to share them. To do that, to participate in the Q&A session, there are two ways. Number one, you can raise a blue hand if you click the participant part of Zoom program, and you will see the list of the participants. In the bottom, you can raise a blue hand, and in this case, I will be happy to give the floor to those willing to pose questions. Or alternatively, you can type in your question in the chat. Please address it to everyone so we all could see the questions. And equally, I think Dr. Stapran will be happy to react to your interest. Please mind that this event is on the record, and this event is also translated through MGIMO YouTube channel and official Facebook, so you can equally follow it there if it is more convenient to you. We will try to follow the questions in Facebook as far as we can, and generally all the questions are welcome, and we will deal with them one way or another. So the time frame is 1 hour 20 minutes, and that's our standard time of the class in MGIMO University. And we hope to have a very productive exchange of opinions during this time. Let me briefly introduce our today's speaker. I already told you that Dr. Natalia Stapran is a part of Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. She holds the position of the director at the Department of Multilateral Economic Cooperation and Special Projects. She is a graduate of our university, and she holds a PhD in history, also obtained here in MGIMO. She has a very interesting career path because she was in the initial stage of her career. She had an opportunity to work in Tokyo in the Russian embassy. Then she worked as associate professor at the Department of Asian and African Studies, also here, and lectured at several other prominent Russian universities. Since 2011, she works at the department. She works at different positions in the Ministry of Economic Development, and we are happy that she agreed to share her perspectives, ideas, thoughts about what we can do in our economic relations between Russia and ASEAN countries. A couple of words about our today's audience, because we have quite a strong registration turnout. More than 120 people expressed their interest to listen to Dr. Stapran today. Not all of them have so far joined, but probably they are following us on YouTube or via the Facebook page. The geography of the people interested in this topic is really wide, ranging from Moscow to Vladivostok, if we take Russia, and also going forward to Kyrgyzstan to Kazakhstan to different countries of post-Soviet area. And we are happy to say that there are several registered participants from other countries in Southeast Asia and beyond Russia and Southeast Asia. My name is Dr. Ekaterina Koldunova. I'm an associate professor here in MGIMO and also a part of ASEAN Centre in MGIMO, and I will be moderating this session. So our today's talk is about the prospects of Russian economic projects in Southeast Asia. We know that in 2018, Russia and ASEAN agreed that they will have the relations of strategic partnership. But both Russia and ASEAN countries also do agree that our economic relations could be better. So our today's question, which is also conditioned by the current pandemic events, is what can we do? What is achievable? What are our opportunities under these restraints? So at this point, I will be passing the floor to Dr. Stapran for her talk and presentation. Please, Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ekaterina. I am really glad to come back to my alma mater in this digital format, but still, it's my great honor to present you our vision of the situation and to share with you the views on what is happening in the region and what can we do together with our Southeast Asian colleagues to promote our collaboration and cooperation. I am representing the Department of Multilateral Economic Cooperation and Special Projects, as Ekaterina already said, of the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. And as far as there were some questions on what we are doing here in the area, I would shortly introduce myself. We do both. We tackle with bilateral relations of the ASEAN member countries as far as the multilateral cooperation and partnership between Russia and ASEAN. Elaborating and assisting different projects which are taking place between our countries, not only in bilateral level, but also in multilateral aspect. And today I will try to talk about several points I was planning. First of all, I would say about cooperation between ASEAN and Eurasian Economic Union, as far as I found them in the questions provided to me. Then I will try to figure out, to list out the main tendencies and main trends which take place in economy of Southeast Asian countries. Because for the third part of my intervention of my lecture today, which is devoted to special projects, we definitely need to understand what is happening. And this analysis of the situation in the region is one of our main activities here. We're trying to monitor what is happening, and so far that we can react adequately to the fastly changing situation, economic situation, not only in the region, but worldwide as far. So let me start the presentation. I guess I will be able to do it now. Ekaterina, is it?
See it, thank you.
Great. Let me start with, just a second. Yes. Just general introduction to the economy of the region, which we definitely pay attention to and we monitor. The economic growth in the main 6 economies of the Southeast Asian region amounted to 5% on average in the last 5 years and to 2% in the last 10 years. This signifies stable and fast economic development of the region, which is gradually becoming one of the powerhouses, we can say, of the world. It is forecasted that by 2030, Southeast Asia would become one of the 4 major economic blocks of the global economy. The rapid economic growth of Southeast Asia is the last decade what has been propelled significantly by the growth of mobile internet access in the region. And 10 years ago, only 1 out of 5 dwellers in the region had access to the internet. Nowadays, the region is boasting the longest time spent online per day comparing to any other region of the world. And more than 90% of the over 360 million internet population in the Southeast Asia are accessing the web through their mobile devices. So that's just the general picture of the region which we are dealing with. And I would say that one of the main and very important projects for us is the idea of joining the free trade relations with the countries on individual basis or with the ASEAN as a grouping. So on the top of its rapid economic growth, Russia sees ASEAN countries as a great potential partner for more intensive free trade cooperation and occasional probable signing of free trade agreements. The first one was signed with Vietnam, and Vietnam was the first ASEAN economy with whom Eurasian Economic Union has signed a free trade agreement in 2015, and the agreement came into power in 2016. The benefits of the free trade agreement with Vietnam included the reduction of custom duties for a range of products, for example, for dairy products from 20 to 0, for some agriculture products from 10 to 0, for meat and fish, immediate or gradual elimination of tariffs, and for some industrial products from as high as 40 to 0%, for example, cars and buses. In October last year, Eurasian economic member states have signed free trade agreement with Singapore. And the work is still on for a similar agreement on services and investment. Just less than a month ago, on September 28th, a meeting of the joint feasibility study group of a free trade agreement between EAU and Indonesia was held. And the research and negotiations will continue with the prospects of completing the work of the group within 1 year. So you see the whole world picture, and the importance of this free trade movement between Eurasian Economic Union and ASEAN is very active. On the side note, I wanted to highlight the responsibilities, just for information, of division between Eurasian Economic Commission and EAU member states, including Russia, for better clarity of our participants today. Basically, the process can be broken down into the following steps. First, proposals from partners, for example, ASEAN countries, are received by Eurasian Economic Commission and the EAU member states. The responsible ministry from each member state studies the proposals and then presents its position to the Commission and reviews counter proposals prepared by the EAU members. Then we consolidate the positions of all EU members and make the decision. In the case of free trade agreements, the responsible ministry from Russia, which is the Ministry of Economic Development, starts the process of feasibility study and negotiate. So the joint negotiating team is formed, comprised of all member states representatives and ministries, and then so we had by the representatives from Eurasian Economic. Overall, on top of facilitating this signature of free trade agreements, our Ministry of Economic Development, is generally responsible for the support of all economic cooperation efforts within the ASEAN countries. including the support of Russian companies who want to launch economic projects there. Why I am talking about this in detail, because we very frequently have those questions. Why can Russia agree on free trade agreement with Indonesia, Thailand, or any other individual member? No, we cannot do that, because it's subnational responsibility of Eurasian Economic Commission. And of course, we can be locomotive of this movement, but not more than our responsibilities can afford us. So before shifting to the concrete projects which we do have with ASEAN member countries, I would like to highlight, as I promised, a few economic trends that we deem important to capture in prognosing and in planning our activities in the region. First one is within the digital economy and trade. As I already mentioned, the digitalization of the region is very active, and the size of the digital economy in Southeast Asia amounted to $100 billion in 2019. That is triple the size of what is used to be in 2016. According to the last year forecast, by 2025, the digital economy would reach $300 billion. But due to the digitalization boost during the pandemics, I guess that that figure could be even higher. Another trend is the growth pockets, so-called. In Southeast Asia, those growth pockets are located outside the megacities. Currently, only 15% of Southeast Asian population lives in the 7 biggest agglomerations of the region. But these cities generate 50% of all the digital economy. With the growth of digital services and high quality infrastructure in the second-tier cities, the participation of people living in those cities in the digital economy will also grow. And the most prominent segments of the digital economy in Southeast Asia are digital trade, delivery services, taxi, media, and tourism. The potential of electronic payments prognoser also should be highlighted, as the payments have passed the tipping point and overall size of digital transactions is forecasted to grow to up to $1 trillion by 2025. However, we can see that Southeast Asia still has a large room for improvement in terms of digitalization, and it was estimated back in 2017 that the economy could have added extra $1 trillion to GDP by 2025 if digitalization of all sectors was done thoroughly. Two most important economy sectors that still need to be improved are small and medium enterprises and government. That's the tendency in all the countries, the same as is in Russia. So from 60 to 95% of revenue in the digital economy in the Southeast Asian countries are generated by the top 10 companies in each economy. However, small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the Southeast Asian economy. More than 80% of GDP and 90% of employment comes from this sector. Digitalization of the government services and adoption of e-government system would not only increase the transparency and efficiency of the public service, but also ensure smooth trans-border cooperation and trade in the region. Southeast Asia is also home to 11 unicorns. I guess everyone understands what this definition means. It means that startups with a valuation over $1 million and over 40 aspiring unicorns, which makes the region attractive for venture investors and startups from other parts of the world. So the demand for infrastructure building and for the demand for infrastructure is high in the region, both in the light of second-tier cities development, as mentioned before, and in the light of sustainability trend that will only be getting stronger as we predict in the upcoming years. It is forecasted that by 2022, ASEAN countries will be investing $588 billion annually in infrastructure. So the most ambitious infrastructure projects are taking place in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Combating climate change and supporting the sustainable development will also remain important in the upcoming decades, as we see. Southeast Asian region has a large room for improvement in the area of sustainable climate development. While on average, the share of renewable energy in the energy mix in Asia is 34%, in the region of Southeast Asia, countries share the renewables not more than 22% in each and other country. So those are the trends which I wanted to highlight and to list out for you, because most of them will, I hope, already are or will be reflected in the projects undertaken by Russian Federation with the ASEAN countries. But again, before moving to projects, I would say one more tendency which we cannot neglect today. That is the COVID-19 consequences. I also had those questions provided to me before the lecture. So let me stop briefly on what we are trying to do. It's a big project for us, a very important topic. And not longer than in the end of September, we had a big event. Although the pandemic has spread all over the Asia Pacific earlier than any other region, I would say that Southeast Asian economies, especially some of them, have managed to control the spread of the disease comparatively efficiently. So according to the September statistics, out of 1 million citizens, there are only 16 deaths in ASEAN, while as many as 524 are in US, almost 370 in Europe, and almost 400 in Latin America. The Southeast Asia region has demonstrated high resistance and unity in the fight against the pandemic. So there have been regular ASEAN-wide meetings with the exchange of best practices. And here in the picture, you can see the seminar which we had on the 30th of September between Russia and ASEAN. And we had a very fruitful discussion on what is happening and how can we react and overcome the consequences of the COVID-19. If we come back to the economic trends, here on the slide, you can see the trade and shift of production which take place in the region. Interregional trade in this Asia-Pacific region has grown by 2.8 times from 2000 until 2017. And at the same time, the labor-intensive exports from China has been declining, which signifies that some part of production has been moving from China to Southeast Asian countries. At the backdrop of the economic crisis caused by COVID-19 and the trade was between the United States and China, there are forecasts that the global value chains will be reshuffled, shortened, and we can say, or some of the production will be reassured or moved to different countries. That's a new economic tendency which erased as post-COVID economic recovery trend. and a significant portion of the foreign companies that have production placed in China, some 80% of them, are reporting that they are considering other ASEAN countries as alternative locations of supply. The interregional trade in this bigger Asia-Pacific region is expected to decline, but not that big, and less than the trade between Asia and the other regions. So, as a result of COVID-19, we prognose a 13% decrease in 2020 compared to the previous 2019 volumes. And that 13% is less than 20% with the other regions of the world. So it means that in the economic sense, the ASEAN members are also surviving the COVID crisis better than the world around. With all these factors combined, ASEAN economies currently have a huge economic opportunity in attracting labor-intensive production and increasing their participation in the global value chain. So one more trend which seems important for us as a potential area of cooperation is education and upskilling. Prior to pandemics, the ASEAN governments and large businesses in the region have already been heavily investing in upskilling and reskilling the labor force, especially of those populations whose job might disappear due to the fourth industrial revolution process, digitalization, and all what is connected to this digital economy. As mentioned previously, small and medium enterprises are backbone of the Southeast Asian economies, and those populations are mainly in small and medium enterprises. And of course, they are self-employed. According to the most likely scenario of the economic recovery after the pandemics, around 9.2 million jobs will be cut in Indonesia, 4.5 million jobs will be cut in Philippines, 2.4 million jobs will be cut in Thailand, and almost 1 million in Malaysia. So that is what we prognose, what is the international prognosis goes through. So these potential cuts lead to the increased demand on upskilling and reloading of educational systems in the region. New approaches towards reskilling the population, especially training them on digital. And I guess that in that case, Russia has some products and projects to propose to the region. So here comes our overview on Southeast Asia and Russia, economic and investment relations. As you see in the table, although the overall Russian trade has significantly dropped due to the COVID in the first half of 2020. And the volume of trade with ASEAN countries have decreased more than 13% against the previous year. Also, the import from ASEAN countries has shown only slight reduction. It's around 4%. So we still hope that we will be able to overcome difficulties, not in a long time, and to come to the previous levels probably in the end of the next year. This is the numbers which you see is a strong sign that our economic cooperation with countries, despite the pandemics, will develop and go on. And I hope that it would only emerge stronger after the crisis. So Russian economic projects in the Southeast Asia try to tackle and to take into account all the above-mentioned trends in the Southeast Asian economic development. And ASEAN-Russia trade and directly correlated to those economic projects that Russian companies are executing in Southeast Asia. Now, I would like to share with you a few most prominent examples. And one of them is, as I mentioned previously, urbanization and urban development is one of the key topics for ASEAN. We try to react to this trend. And in this regard, ASEAN member states have created an ASEAN Smart Cities Network, a platform for achieving the common goal of smart and sustainable urban development. The main goal of the platform is to increase the quality of life of ASEAN population and to promote new business opportunities and innovations in the digital infrastructure. The notion of the smart city for ASEAN is the equivalent of smart and sustainable city and covers economic, social development of the cities along with the protection of the environment. So thus, the development of the smart cities is one of the tracks for Russian ASEAN economic cooperation. And currently, it is a part of the work stream on financial fund, which we have with ASEAN countries, which is almost $8 million as for today. And the dialogue which we had undertaken is the project called Innovations for Smart and Sustainable Cities in Russia and ASEAN. The main goal of the project is to facilitate the experience sharing and implementation of digital technologies in urban economy, both partners, in Russian and ASEAN member countries. Know that Moscow has a very rich experience in digitalization, and it is ranked very highly in international rankings of digital economy and urban infrastructure. So I would say that Moscow is a locomotive of these projects, and we have already presented in the end of last year in 2019 in a big exhibition in Singapore our technologies which attract much attention from the ASEAN member countries. And I would say the proposed format of the project is aimed at speeding up the implementation of innovative solutions in the cities, with plenty of which Russia has. And it also planned to create a user-friendly and transparent platform for attracting investment and increasing the investor confidence in the sustainable project. As a reaction to another trend, I guess this one, yes. Another trend is the construction of the cyclotron radiomechanical complex in Thailand. It comes in correlation with the tendency for sustainable development, which was already mentioned as a key trend for the region, and is linked to better life quality, ensuring better medical technologies and research. Russian Rosatom State Atomic Energy Corporation is in partnership with its subsidiary structures and local partners, has won in 2017 a tender for constructing a cyclotron radiochemical complex in the territory of the Institute of Nuclear Technologies in Thailand. And the project budget is almost $27 million US. And currently the construction of the complex is being executed at the full speed, I would say. Russian engineers are expected to arrive to Thailand this month. Definitely due to COVID circumstances, the schedule was a little bit changed, but still we hope that in November, the official ceremony of the starting of construction will take place. And we hope that the plan will be completed in accordance with the schedule and everyone will feel the benefits from this very useful, helpful, sustainable project in the future. One more project sorry, not this one, but yes, this one is just wait a second, I guess that we have. Okay, this one, yes, I was mistaken with the slide, but yes, this is a Robo Club in Thailand. It's another project in Thailand, and it's as I mentioned already, the digital skills. Here is the purpose to develop and to promote digital technologies in the education. Digital skills are highly required by the ASEAN countries to adopt to the new pace of economic development. And this year, in February, the first Roba Club was opened in Bangkok. It is a children's school of computer engineering and robotics of Russian origin. The company Roba is a Russian company specializing on those educational technologies. The plan is to open up to 9 more schools across Thailand. And although the grand opening ceremony was canceled due to COVID, Russian Trade Mission in Thailand provided full support to the project, and we hope that COVID only strengthened the importance of these digital education instruments and means, and this project will be very successful in the region of Southeast Asia. Another project which I wanted to tell you about today is the creation of the Digital Innovation and ICT Center within Sistema Asia Fund in Singapore. And now to more adult digital skills, we are moving not from children to more adult-oriented things. And this is the startup and venture thing, which is undertaken by a Russian company under the umbrella of AFK Sistema, and a large Russian investment company, digital innovation and ICT, those three, they gathered in one project. This center was created as a platform, which on one hand will promote products of Russian ICT companies in Singapore and other Southeast Asian countries. And on the other, it would facilitate the inflow of technological projects and investment from Southeast Asia into Russia. I would say that it's a very unique experience for us. The agreement on cooperation in the sphere of innovation and living digital technologies, business partnerships, and ecosystem developments was signed last year in Vladivostok, in Vladivostok Economic Forum. And among the main members of this multilateral, I would say, agreement, you see on the slide the names of these companies. And immediately, Sales Jet platform was launched in order to facilitate these startups exchanging in both directions. So this kind of mutual process from Russia to Singapore and from Singapore to Russia. So far, there are almost 14 Russian companies participating in this project, and 22 Singaporean high-tech companies expressed their interest to participate in it. So we also wish all the success to this project and hope that it is very promising and nice project. Another one, which is again deals with digital economy and e-commerce, is the project within the Russia ASEAN Partnership Fund, and its name Marketplace for Cross-Border B2B Trade for Small and Medium Enterprises between Russia and ASEAN. As I already said, in ASEAN countries, small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the economy, constituting almost 90% of total enterprises in the market, and they contribute a lot to the total exports. COVID pandemics again showed the importance of supporting their companies and providing the opportunities for them to work online. So in order to promote the cooperation between Russia and ASEAN in the sphere of supporting SMEs, in 2019, our ministry launched a project on cross-border B2B trade for small and medium enterprises in Russia and ASEAN. And the virtual platform, it can be assessed even now, you can check on it. is aimed at easing the market entry for small and medium enterprises, smoothing the business process of cross-border trade, and making information on the small and medium products easily accessible for any potential client globally. Although the project was launched immediately before the pandemic, it has proven its efficiency, timely, and very important role in 2020, because we were self-isolated, we were closed within the countries, and those online platforms proved their importance and really showed a big growth in those online bilateral trade volumes. We also wish all success to this project and hope to continue it next year and further on. So that's probably the main things which I wanted to tackle in my main part of my presentation. Ekaterina, could you advise me on how we go further? Either I can just point out some more questions which were raised, or we open the floor for QA session online.
Thank you, Dr. Natalia Stapran. And I think that we all feel a positive way of hope that even under COVID restraint, new digital instruments proved indeed helpful to keep us at least moderately interconnected in the economic way. So we are now moving to the Q&A session, and those who would like to comment or to pose a question by voice, please do indicate your wish. Either send me a note in our general chat, or please raise a blue hand. So I will be waiting for the indications of your questions, of your willingness to pose questions. Please do not be shy, and this is a good opportunity for a direct talk, whatever is considered to be direct in the current circumstances. Meanwhile, you're thinking or consolidating your thoughts about possible comments or questions, I think that we can try to tackle at least several questions which were submitted beforehand. And generally, I can tell you that we have a whole range of questions going from the general issues which were covered partly in the presentation to more specifics. So let us look what were the specific questions. I think that the question about the fourth industrial revolution was moderately moderately answered in the presentation, and we hope that this kind of projects will actually go further. And there were different questions about instruments and possibilities in the bilateral relations. Could we here? Right.
Well, I just, as far as I have those questions, while collecting the others, we can just let me tackle several of them, which I already see. Okay.
To proceed, and my one more request to audience, please indicate your wish to ask a question or to comment, and I will be waiting for these indications. Please, Dr. Natalia.
The question we received from, I guess, Minister of Foreign Affairs, from Alexander Calcutta, is what are the main perspectives and tracks for Russian-Malaysia bilateral relations? I would say that we can devote a separate lecture on individual bilateral economic relations with individual ASEAN countries, but Malaysia, I would try to answer now very shortly on this question. Malaysia is a very valuable partner for us in several areas, including cooperation in the field of innovations in the context of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. And among the interesting new areas, I can mention cooperation in the field of halal products, and we are now exploring the possibility of exporting Russian halal products to the Malaysian market. We are closely cooperating with Malaysian partners in this area, and you know that some regions like Tatarstan, we also have very good qualified companies in this area. We hope that this cooperation is very promising, especially in case of certifying those halal products. Another area for cooperation with Malaysia is aviation industry, and with a special emphasis on educational projects for programs for pilots. Another one, which I would like to emphasize, is that we have very productive relations with the government of Malaysia within the Intergovernmental Commission. And this Monday, just several days ago, the Malaysian Minister of Communications opened an online business seminar for Russian and Malaysian IT companies. So this follows the overall tendency. Definitely IT cooperation, high-tech cooperation is one of the most promising. So that's what I can say about the Malaysia. Another question was from, I would say, Vladislav Zaitsev from Far Eastern University. It was about the influence of COVID on Russia-ASEAN relations. I tried to just list out the main tendencies which took place in the region. The decrease in overall trade, as I mentioned, during the first 8 months of this year, the trade volume between our Russia and ASEAN was dropped by 13% in comparison with the same period of 2019. But despite this fact, the pandemic has opened, I would say, new opportunities for Russia-ASEAN economic cooperation. So to address this new normal challenges and to promote ASEAN-Russia cooperation, our ministry conducted the joint ASEAN-Russia seminar, which was called Russia-ASEAN Response to the COVID-19 Outbreak. And we have very active participation from ASEAN member countries. And in the frame of the seminar, the parties discussed measures to how to restore economies and to stabilize the situation and the spread of COVID, and how to provide assistance to the affected industries and population groups. We had a lot of representatives from Russian and ASEAN countries' business circles, as far as researchers from biomedical institutions. And one of the topics was the elaboration and introduction of Russian vaccine against COVID named Sputnik 5. I would say that more than 50 countries has already asked us to provide this vaccine. And our institution, such as Russian Direct Investment Fund, is working on how to accomplish this mission and to provide this vaccine to all who need it. And ASEAN is the clue and very prominent, and is the first, I would say, region among others who will receive this vaccine on the first day. So if you allow me, another question was from Muhammad Hadidah.
And ASEAN and Indonesia.
What are the benefits and weaknesses of free trade cooperation between ASEAN and EAU? We, as you saw in the slides, I tried to outline different aspects and to report to you what we are currently doing. I would say that the weak and the strong are the same ones. So the structure of any multilateral format or integration bloc And here, the weak point, the same as for Eurasian Economic Union, as far as for ASEAN, is the necessity to agree upon the consensus what to do with each and other agreement with third countries. So even though probably some individual members of ASEAN or Eurasian Economic Union want to promote the free trade movement, if they do not gather the consensus of the grouping, this movement can be promoted. So that's, I would say, the main weak and the main challenge for us is to make the other members agree with us and to start all those negotiations. So I hope, as you saw in the slides, that we will do our best, and we already have done it with Vietnam and Singapore. We will try to finalize next year the agreement on services and investment, and we will go on with Indonesia on feasibility study and probable start of negotiations. And we still have many other ASEAN countries on the list for this.
We have a question from Dr. Anna Kireva. Anna, you could actually turn on your mic and voice up your question if you're with us.
Okay, yeah, but I'll be without video. I'm very sorry. Natalia, very many thanks for your presentation. One of the things that you mentioned was the process of reshoring and the possible relocation of new industries to the Southeast Asia from China. So I'm wondering, do you see here any new possibilities for Russia-ASEAN industrial cooperation if we look at this trend? And especially, can something be done with the participation of the Russian Far East, probably in the advanced special economic zones of Vladivostok or anything? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice to hear from you, Professor Kireva, and thank you for your question. Here we come to the reality of One Belt, One Road initiative from China. You know that China before COVID was very active on its initiative on investing in the projects and founding industries and combining those value chains. The shift from China to Southeast Asia of the industries of those the value chains, I would say yes, they give us some opportunities to be included in the functioning. I also had a question on this economic zones and special regimes in the Far Eastern region. And we do hope that these special regimes will help foreign companies to come to our territories in the Far East on the border to be introduced in functioning value chains. Especially, we can talk about agricultural things and soy projects. There are big projects on soy. And possibly, yes, although you know that the competition is very high, and what the Southeast Asian countries are ready to provide sometimes is much more experienced things, much more comfortable things. But nevertheless, what we definitely need to do to be involved on all this reshoring and restructuring process is to promote comfortable investment climate for the foreign companies and to be very active on all those trans-border regimes which can guarantee foreign investors the best circumstances and the best situation in our country compared to the Southeast Asian. But nevertheless, we try to do that, and we have several big projects in the Far East together with Singapore. And I hope that we will go on with such projects in the future. COVID won't stop this activity. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Ekaterina Valerievna, should
Yeah.
I go on with our questions? Yes. So we have another question from High School of Economy from Maria Yakovleva. And the question is, I would say, very pragmatic and pathetic. Will the level of the previous levels of cooperation be tackled, be reached with Southeast Asian countries as far with the East Asian countries? And I would say that despite the rapid growth and high share of in global economy, ASEAN economy is still not as big as China or Korea or Japan. And in this regard, we cannot compare. And it is not logical to expect that the same volume of bilateral trade, at least in the upcoming years, will be reached as far as with Southeast Asian countries and East Asian countries. However, our ambitions are very high, and we here work for that. So we certainly think that the cooperation between Russia and ASEAN should be increased and should be developed.
Coming right now via Zoom, which was sent to me as a moderator. But I would like to ask Evgeny Moiseev, would you like to voice up your question? Are you here with us? Turn on your mic and please ask a question.
Yes, thank you. But I have significant problems with connection, but I hope I will be. It's wonderful. First of all, thank you for an interesting presentation. You said about SEAN countries' demand for infrastructure, and I have a question. Is there any infrastructure project between Russian Federation and Vietnam? And what are the perspectives of Russian-Vietnam relations in this sphere? Thank you.
Thank you, Evgeny. Thank you for your question, and it's very important. As I say, Vietnam is one of the most quickly developing infrastructure countries within ASEAN, and we do have those projects. One of them is the projects on metro construction in the capital city. We hope that it will be developed. There are some more projects which I am not in position to announce now as far as they're at preliminary stage, and I probably can come back to you a little bit later, because we cannot open all the secrets or business secrets of our private sector, although we're tackling with them. But yes, it's exactly what is happening, and you caught the tendency and the trend. Vietnam is one of our main partners on infrastructure cooperation.
Thank you.
About tourism, which I tried to voice up myself, but forgot to turn on the mic, which happens, unfortunately, under this digitalization framework. So if you can say a couple of words about the prospects of this sphere, because even in the absence of mega projects, tourism was an important driver. It just helps to bring more Russian people to Southeast Asia, and we often referred to this as a means to have a direct knowledge and understanding of Southeast Asia. Is there any discussion of any new models for bringing people to the region, providing that the epidemiological situation will not be easier in the coming years, I'm afraid?
It's a very good question. So I would say that almost tomorrow we have a big subcommission with Thailand on trade and economic and trade and investment relations, and tourism is one of the topics to be discussed. And it's, of course, it's a very unfortunate situation when the tourist flows were blocked, and we are in the new reality. I will be frank with you. We still do not have the exact answer how to live with this situation if it won't be changed. So at this moment, we still hope that the COVID restrictions will be raised and everything will come back to the previous levels. But yes, you are right. We must also consider the opportunity, the chance that the restrictions won't be raised. But in that case, I would say it's not about only Southeast Asia. It's the worldwide situation where not only Russia or Thailand or Malaysia or Vietnam do not have the answer. That's another new variant of economy. So probably if the restrictions won't be raised fully, if they will still exist and there won't be those free flows of tourists to visit each and other country, we will no longer will have the share of tourism in the economy as big as it was before. So it's the question for the future, I would say.
Great. Sorry to hear about that, of course. But hopefully something will be coming up out of these discussions. We have one more live question coming from Ms. Polina Solovyova. So, Polina, please.
Yes, yes. Do you hear me? You may be. Hello.
Hello.
Natalia Valeryevna, thanks for your lecture. It was really interesting.
Speak a little bit louder.
Is it good now?
Okay, not very.
Oh, okay. Natalia Valeryevna, thanks for your lecture. It was really interesting. And I'm a second-year student at MGIMO University, and I'm specializing in Vietnam economy and politics. So I have a question about our relations, economy relations. How we already said it today, that Vietnam was the first among ASEAN countries who signed a free trade agreement with Eurasian Economic Union. And during our history, we saw that Vietnam was really close to Russia, in our past, I mean. But still, we see that the USA and China are main partners, import and export partners of the Vietnam. But Russia is not on the list of even 5 countries who trade with Vietnam. And also Vietnam is more likely to trade with European countries like France, maybe Italy and Germany. Why is it going? Why don't we use this potential between our countries? And I wanted to ask it. Thank you.
Thank you, Polina. It's a very good and timely question, I would say. I would answer that way, that Vietnam is the country which is ready for diversification. And Vietnam is a unique country who has trade agreements with many other partners together with Russia. They're very open. They're very open in their economy. And first of all, Vietnam itself is trying to find out more opportunities, the best ones. And they are very dynamic and they're looking for the future. So in that sense, they find out the best proposals and the most economically efficient things. So as far as we are not that quick on free trade agreements, and Vietnam has free trade agreements with Japan, China, and many other countries simultaneously. They are participants of CPTPP, a big new trade deal and a big new project. So they are being involved in the region much deeper than it was in the Soviet period when we have strategic relationship. Another thing that most of our cooperation at that time was based on aid programs, which are definitely not always economically efficient. And when we rethink and we reschedule our cooperation from economic aid to practical business projects, we need to attract our businesses. And that's another task which we as the ministry have, is to introduce ASEAN countries to our businesses. Because real economy goes when the business interest exists. And they go into the region, they do their deals, and the government only supports them. So government is not the main body to promote cooperation. Businesses, those who need to do that. So what we try to do, we try to introduce Vietnam market to our businesses, to introduce the opportunities. And free trade agreement was one of the means to make our cooperation bigger. And we see the growth in bilateral trade due to this free trade agreement. But at the same time, the competition is competition. And in competition, in market economy, we need to provide the best solutions, the best proposals, and only then we win this competition. So yes, we have still the task, and we will do our best to promote our cooperation. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think we have time for one more live question from Ms. Milavsha. Milavsha, could you please speak up?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your presentation. It was very great, really. And I have here the one question. In the Russian and Asian cooperation format, what were the challenges and barriers two sides faced with in setting up the bilateral economic relations in Russia-Asian format, and how it was dealt to overcome barriers?
Thank you, Milavsha. As I understand, you are asking about bilateral economic relations and how to overcome the barriers. I can respond from my governmental point of view. We introduce different formats. You know that we have regular intergovernmental meetings on economy and trade. We also have sectorial working groups on agriculture, industry, energy, tourism, and many others. For example, with Indonesia, we have almost 8 of them. So that's what we as the government can do in this context. And at the same time, the second track is the business track. We organize business missions from Russia to ASEAN and from ASEAN to Russia. We try to match the businesses, to make this B2B matching sessions, so to help them to find out. Third part that we very effectively do with our respectful ASEAN Centre, for example, in MGIMO, with our academia, is provide information. We really lack the information on the opportunities of the ASEAN economies market and what can our Russian companies do there. That's why I devoted a big part of my today's lecture to those trends and situation in the region, because the region is very often unknown to our businesses. It's not traditional one. So here I would again thank Professor Koldunova and Professor Sumsky, who is also with us today, for your very big efforts in promoting and providing our Russian population and people and businesses with the information about ASEAN countries. That's the big deal, and we need to do more in this area. And then if we have information, we can overcome any barriers and go further. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm ready to respond to any questions online intersessionally via emails. Please feel free to address me, and if I can be of any help, I'm here with you. Thank you, Ekaterina. Thank you all for listening.
We're about to finish our talk today, and let me also join in this Thanksgiving session and final comments on what we have just discussed. I think that it is really important to catch up with the times and to see what is going on. And every cloud has a silver lining, as we all know, but we rarely think about it critically and positively at the same time. And I'm very much happy that we have a very wide audience in these online sessions of ASEAN Academic Days. And please, if we haven't answered certain questions which trouble you, which you think are important, please visit our Facebook page, the Facebook page of ASEAN Centre. Please visit our website in the internet, asean.mgimo.ru. There is a contact email there, and send us your ideas, what can be interesting for the future talks about Russia-ASEAN economic relations. At this point, let me express our deep gratitude to Dr. Stapran, who found time to join us and to talk frankly to all of us. And let's hope that this will be a meeting with a continuation. So thank you. And thanks to all the participants, to all who posed questions and formed a very interested audience today. Thank you. We are to finish this session today.